Ashlyn.
I'm Andrea.
I'm Piper.
I'm Avery.
Awesome, cool. Okay, you guys ready?
Yep.
Insert this right here. And then I'll go like this whenever you have 2 minutes left, like this whenever you have 1 minute left. All right, go.
So our presentation is over the implications of the fast food industry.
So our research question asks, to what extent is Japan's sustainable food culture more beneficial to human life than America's more industrialized style of food culture when taking into account the economic, futuristic, cultural, and medical implications? So fast food is essentially just a cheap and efficient way of producing various types of food. And they really prioritize, at least in America, they prioritize efficiency over the quality of food. And so, as per the USDA, they announced that fast food actually brought in $1.2 trillion worth of revenue in 2021. And so this image here just kind of shows like a lot of the bigger chains in America. And so fast food is really prevalent. 1 in 3 Americans consume fast food daily. This was in a report by the Center of Disease Control. And McDonald's also fuels 1% of the global population. Fast food, though, it can be a very short-term energy source. It really creates a spike of carbs, or like when you eat the carbs, it creates a blood sugar spike, which then makes your insulin spike. So it kind of just makes everything crash, and it's not a good long-term fuel source. Also, McDonald's does produce 75 burgers per second, so that just kind of shows like how fast and everything's made. And so this graph, it kind of goes back into what I was saying, 1 in 3 Americans eat fast food daily. It shows roughly 36% of Americans who are over the age of 21, or over the age of 20, roughly 36% will eat fast food on a given day.
Okay, so for a little bit of context, the culture behind America's fast food is based on the speed at which the food is produced. Like Piper mentioned before, McDonald's claims to make at least 75 burgers per second. So the thought started with McDonald's starting the supply chain kitchen, which basically there's a spot for every process of the preparation, which just makes the production faster. Then we move on to how America has dealt with that, and they have actually increased portion sizes. The CDC says that they have increased portion sizes since the 1950s by times 4. So that's what you would see when fast food first started and now. And then we have our other contender, which is Japan. Their fast food was started on convenience. When trains became more prevalent, they would put little pop-up shops on the train station so people could just grab a bite while they were going on with their day. They also created what we know as the bento box, which is a compact box with very small portions. They are an island, which means that they don't have a lot of space or resources to produce as much food, so most of their food is imported, and that brings heavy prioritization of, rationing kind of what they get.
So here we have the stunning rise of obesity in America. Overweight men and obese men are both about 40%, and then for women, obese women is about 40%. In the scientific journal Neuropsychopharmacology, Oginski, a member of the Department of Pharmacology, states that cue-triggered food cravings in obese individuals involves an alteration in nucleus accumbens. This is what involves food and drug rewards. So if a person's eating unhealthy, they're being rewarded for being unhealthy, and this could result in an obese cycle and lead to more obesity. Then we have this quote by Bridget Murray. She says that migrants to Western countries have much higher obesity rates than their relatives back home. She claims that this could be due to self-control, the lack of self-control that people have in America, which could adversely affect other individuals. And then in the International Journal of Eating Disorders, Sukning Chua says that in Asia, they view foods for the health benefits of a product, not necessarily naturalness, so they have a better food relationship, and that could show why they have less obesity. And then here, this is the top 20 countries with the highest and lowest overweight and obesity rates. The United States comes in at number 1 for the most obese, and then Japan comes in at number 7 for the least obese. In the American Journal of Lifestyle Medicine, Furman states that one serving of fries or fried chicken contains 100 times the level of aldehydes that is designated safe by the World Health Organization. Aldehydes are essentially a toxin to the body, so if we are consuming 100 times what is safe, then that could result in adverse health effects and could lead to obesity.
So for our main solution, it is composed of basically 2 kind of stages. The first one is like a government regulation, and the second one includes an individual responsibility. So we believe a more attainable solution is regulating the amount of sodium that fast food is allowed to put into each meal. So sodium is actually the leading cause of cardiovascular disease, and so that is actually one of the leading causes of death here in America. So obviously it's a pretty big issue here, so bringing that sodium down should be a pretty big priority. The FDA actually recommends around 2,300 milligrams daily, and the average American is actually having about 1,000 more than that. So bringing that down should be pretty important. And to put that into context, a Big Mac at McDonald's, as most of y'all would know, is about 1,000 milligrams of sodium. And that's not including the fries and the soda that you usually would eat with that meal. And so if you were trying to stay under the FDA recommendation, that's only gonna leave a little less than 650 milligrams per the other meals, which isn't very possible. So, bringing those levels down may contribute well to helping the fast food obesity issues here in America. And the other part of our solution is an individual responsibility. So this is actually inspired by the Shokuiku campaign in Japan, which was kind of a way of educating the citizens about, food and healthy dietary health, and then obviously helping with bad habits with eating and everything. And so they actually had pretty good results from this, and so just educating the public on what the best choice to make when it comes to food has proven to work well. So some of the implications to our solution is obviously the healthier food is going to take more money to produce, so that might be a little more difficult for the government to initiate. Another thing is that companies may see that they may not make as much profit here in America anymore and may move to other countries, so the industry may shrink a little bit. And obviously people don't always love to listen to the government, and so forcing people to do something may not always go well because there's always going to be opposition to that. And then obviously some limitations is that as production does increase, the prices of the fast food could also increase, making it not as accessible for the low income side of America. So some of our alternative solutions, one of them being regulation of portion sizes, like Andrea talked about earlier. America has very high portion sizes in comparison to a lot of Eastern countries, and so therefore we make a lot more plastic and packaging waste. Rachel Lark, actually, a assistant director of Environment Co. magazine, found that about fast food produces about 49% of litter here in America. So reducing the amount of packaging needed could be a great solution to that. Another thing though is it could be quite pricey to organize. Such big regulations like this definitely have their downfalls. And then our other alternative solution is providing subsidies to farmers. So a subsidy is basically providing money to aid in the process of doing something. So in this context, the government would be providing money to farmers to further, to be able to produce healthier alternatives, basically. Once again, it's going to be expensive, and this could cause some opposition in the industry just by forcing farmers to change what they're producing and how they make their profit. And that's it. These are some of our resources.
Okay. We still have questions. So I'm gonna go from right over to the left. Piper, if you had another team member, what other perspectives or limitations could they have researched that would have made a useful contribution to the project?
If our group had another team member, I would say it'd be very beneficial if we focus more on the environmental aspect to things, talking more about like plastic waste, and also even just the production of fast food, like the animal side to things like CAFOs and such. The slaughtering of various animals such as cows, it it produces a lot of air pollution and that type of thing, which can lead to even more health implications for people and for the environment around it. So,
Avery, describe an argument from one of your peers' individual reports that made you think differently about your team's solution or conclusion.
So in Piper's report, she discusses how Japan, while they manufacture a lot of fast food still, they value quality over quantity in comparison to the United States mass production. And she really put into perspective how fast food doesn't necessarily have to be an unhealthy version of food, but it can also be beneficial to others if you value the healthiness and the naturalness of the product.
Ashlyn, give one specific way that your thinking changed as a result of learning about Avery's findings.
So Avery had the health perspective, and she focused on both the physical implications and the health or mental health implications of fast food. And obviously most people know that fast food isn't good for you, so I kind of understood that part, but I never really knew how bad it could be on our mental health. And so learning more about her research in that area really opened my eyes on a different perspective of that.
Awesome. Andrea, reflecting on your colleagues' work, which one had the greatest impact on your overall understanding of the problem your group identified?
I would definitely say that Avery's research had the most impact on just what I thought about the overall problem. She not only went into the physical aspect of how fast food affects the body, she went also into the mental health aspect. And it's something that we don't usually think about when we think of fast food and how we might be addicted to it as a society.
Awesome. Now let's give them a round of applause.
Excellent.